I don't think, I mean, I can't even tell you how successful this bins trip has been. I mean, this has been possibly the best bins trip I've ever had yet. We are back at the bins and ready to see what we can find. This was actually a great trip for me. So a typical view of the bins. These bins were pretty full this day. You have electric cords, string lights, which are awful to dig through. Trees are also awful to dig through. I will come across some of them. So yes, everything here is $1.69 per pound, I believe. That is the price. That includes books, electronics, shoes, clothing, everything and anything. Pierre Cardin tie. These are not worth that much money. If you have one or find one that has a really nice pattern on it, you might be able to sell it between $10 to $20, but a plain one, not so much. You gotta dig through. Someone just donated all of Uncle Howie's ties, it looks like. Dig, dig, dig. Bring gloves, bring a bag, bring some candy, bring some water. You have to stay hydrated when you're digging through these bins. So there's that infamous Christmas tree. This is a garland. They are so difficult to dig through, but I did dig and I do end up finding an assortment of some really great little items. We are digging this. I mean, what is there to say besides that's what the bins look like? We have some paper, hangers, more garland, and ta-da! A vintage Christmas ornament. This little guy made of really thin wood. How it survived the mishmash and the barrage of people digging through a bin, I don't know, but I found one. And when there's one, there's two. And when there's two, I'm going to look and keep looking through the bin because there might even be more. That's my little motto or my tip. If you find something if you find 2 or 3 of one certain type of thing, you're going to want to keep looking because the odds of finding more are probably there. So that's exactly what I did. I believe that I actually looked through this entire bin to see what I could find. We have some cards and look, we found Mr. Santa Claus, another one. Again, I'm always amazed by how some things survive the bins. And this little lady, I could not leave her behind. We have Miss Patty Playpal. Her eyes need some repair, but that's okay. So yes, hello Dolly. This girl here is a 1960s ideal saucy Walker doll, the 32-inch version. Poor girl was just sitting right on top of the bin waiting to be rescued. Sold prices vary depending on condition. The average price seems to be between $100 and $200. Shipping, a little costly. She might be the type to just go to the flea market. There are many doll collectors there, so she would be perfect to add to someone's collection. In this bin, I found all sorts of these vintage miniatures. I love them. Some were still in bags. Some had just tumbled out of the bags. We even found an elk, I believe, not a moose, an elk. But someone must have cleaned out their craft drawer, a craft room, donated Aunt Elsie's crafts, but I just kept looking and looking. There's all sorts of little things in here. A lot of older items on this bins trip, and that is what I love. Even the 1980s and 1990s cassette tapes. All these mixtapes that end up in the bins, how sad. Hours and hours of someone's work. Maybe I should pick up a few next time. So I'm looking and I see a little treasure trove at the bottom of this bin because again, we have just more of these tiny, tiny little bits of plastic, perfect for use in crafting, making all sorts of things. This was a winter scene. There was a snowman. The one before were animals. And look, these even have the original paper label on them. Again, just a nice winter scene. I believe all made in Hong Kong, I think. But they just kept multiplying. And that is what I like to find when I go to the bins. Oh, and what do we have here? An autograph book from Disney World from 1989. Dale, Pooh. I think there was even one from Alice, Robin Hood. There was also an autograph from Roger Rabbit. I don't even know if Roger Rabbit comes out anymore. That might be Disneyland, actually, if Roger Rabbit's there. So we have Miss Minnie Mouse. She is an older stuffed animal with her Disneyland, Disney World tag. She has a little bit of dirt, but a little bit of dirt don't hurt. Just wipe it off. Puzzles. Nancy and Sluggo. Great packaging, and I'm trying to get it open, trying to see if all the pieces are in there, and then I realized it's taped. So that is a great sign because that means probably all the pieces are in there. We even found a Peanuts, good old Charlie Brown and Snoopy, again, all taped. That's great. Because if it wasn't taped, what are the odds of the pieces being in there? And of course, we found Minnie's partner, good old Mickey Mouse. He came home with me as well. So just, again, just lots of great vintage things. Sometimes I go to the bins and they're filled with just all the Goodwill store rejects. And other days like today, we find amazing things. And yes, Jesus. We find them all the time at the Goodwill bins. No nativity this time, but some vintage religious ephemera, some tracts to honor St. Joseph. So I picked those up as well because what will they cost me? A couple pennies, if that. Just dig, dig, dig. You're like the Seven Dwarfs digging. New Kids on the Block. I found this whole bag of cassette tapes. Now again, it's by the pound, so I wanted to be a little bit choosy. And of course I was going to get the Cyndi Lauper. Love Cyndi Lauper. And the New Kids on the Block. But you have some great classics. You have a Dirty Dancing tape mix. Someone else's mix. I believe I see Amy Grant in there. We had Genesis. Who's this? Is this, oh, Paula Abdul. Straight up now tell me. And then of course we have, that's a 20th Century Hits. And another New Kids on the Block. That was Blues. Was that? No, Deep Blue something. And then New Kids on the Block. I loved New Kids on the Block. I still do. Great teenage group from my teenage youth. And this is a memory from childhood. This, folks, I had this blanket and this shirt when I was a baby. So I immediately recognized it and knew what it was. This was made by Carter's, and this is like a sleeper onesie, and I was not going to leave this at the bins because how often do you find an exact clothing item from your childhood that you had? I still have my blanket too. So I'll add that to my collection. You never know what you're going to find in the bins. You just never know, and that is why it's so magical. We have cards, toys, electric cords. You have the bottom of the blender over there. I mean, who knows? Who knows what you're going to find, but it was definitely a great day. Let me tell you folks, I'm still going back in. I had to empty out my bag, but this little lady right here, this is a Patty Play Pal, and she recently sold on eBay for $200 some. Now her condition's a little rough. She was found in the bins, but she was saved. And I couldn't help it. I know that these vintage dolls they can sell for a decent amount of money. I didn't know she would sell for that much. Lay down there, girly. Then I got a whole bunch of other stuff. We got a Cabbage Patch doll. As I was going to check out, I noticed more My Little Ponies in the bins. We know my success with the ponies prior. This guy was just hanging out. We got Raggedy Ann, another 3 more ponies. I got this whole bag of vintage Christmas, little bits and bobs of things. I found this vest. It's not an older vest. It is older. No, it's not vintage. It's probably from the 90s, but it has some great, look, bicentennial patches on it. We have Lady Harley, POW, and the Harley patch on the back. I got a Pierre Cardin tie. No idea if it's worth anything. We found Raggedy Ann. And I got all these great little ornaments. They're all little wooden guys. Saved those from the bins. We got some pumpkins. I mean, this has been a great bins trip so far. I can't even begin to tell you how excited I am.